So apparently a young woman went to Dubai and this happened.
That advice, don't leave America acting like an American, is absolutely good advice.
Senior legal analyst Chris Tritico says, I didn't know isn't enough to get you off the hook if you're caught breaking the law in a foreign country.
Here you have to prove that you intended to violate the law in most circumstances. But in other countries, it probably does not matter. For instance, in Thailand, spitting on the sidewalk is a crime.
Many Americans learned this the hard way, like 29-year-old Tierra Allen, a Houston woman who's been detained in Dubai for 2 months now. Her charge? Screaming in public.
What's up, guys? It's Bad Decisions, where we watch people make
bad decisions.
It's your boy Sherm.
It's your man Jay.
Okay, so there's two possible sides of the story. One of which you guys have already heard, the one where she pops off, and there's another one. But before we get to the other one, let's tackle the first one. So one of the most important things about this entire situation is how you act. So I don't think her behavior is acceptable in a man, in a woman, in a dog, in a cat. When you arrive somewhere, especially a new country, you want to give people the best taste of where you're from. You want to give people a good interaction with you. I don't understand what she thought was gonna happen. Part of the thing you do when you travel, I don't know how many of you guys have traveled, but one of the things that I personally do is I always look up the laws and see how different it is.
Take a few minutes to learn those customs and those laws like that you should know before you go.
Critical advice there. Make sure you know the laws of the country you are traveling to.
So if you're going to a place like Canada or Europe, laws are going to be pretty similar. But when you go to places like Dubai, places that are very heavy in the Islamic religion, it's a different way that you maneuver. You have to read the laws. If you see how a lot of Islamic cultures operate in the US and how conservative they are, that should let you know that in their main country, it's probably more conservative. So you need to learn how people interact in that situation. In terms of roles of men and women, I can't judge how other nations do what they do because I don't live in that nation and I don't know how it works, if I'm just being completely and utterly honest. Because here's the thing, a lot of people will talk ish about the US and say, oh man, the US is so bad, I hate it, it's not fair, whatever, the police, da 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 da. In the US, we're one of the few countries where you can actually say something about it. We're one of the few countries where you can actually talk ish about the police and they can actually get in trouble. Does it happen all the time? No, it does not happen all the time. But in the US, you have a lot of liberties that other countries do not have.
There is a saying, don't leave America and act like an American, because most of the freedoms and liberties we have here don't exist in other countries. Now, the attorney I spoke with says it doesn't matter if you didn't know any better. If you break even the smallest minor law in a foreign country, you could end up serving hard time.
Some other countries out there are patriarchal, which means that they're very men dominated, right? And the father basically is the head of the household. And the way that you respect men over there is different than what you would get in the States.
In that country, a female is not even allowed to raise her voice.
The Middle East is a very draconian place, especially for women. And so if you're going to travel in a place like the Middle East and you're a woman, know that.
So knowing this, doing your research knowing this, you would know that there's certain things that you just cannot do. And like I said, is all of this fair? No, it's not. But at the end of the day, you don't live there. You have to go by the laws. I think the main point of this entire story is that just because you can do something, like just because you can act that way in the States, that doesn't mean you should act that way in the States, and that bad habits follow you wherever you go. So if you practice good habits in the States while you're at home, when you're outside the States and something happens, it won't be so hard for you to rein it back in. But unfortunately, when you don't practice good habits and you continue to do things that would probably get you in trouble, when you go overseas and it's time to rein it in, it's probably not gonna happen. But like I said, there's two perspectives to the story, so I'll let Jay conquer the other one.
Well, first I want to touch on the first perspective we were talking about. Kind of piggyback off of your whole thing about practicing better habits when you're at home in your home country. That way you are prepared when you go to another country to act right, because you don't have to pretend to act right, because you already know how to act right because you do it on a daily basis. Unfortunately, when I first heard about this story and read the headlines and saw the video titles about a passport sis popping off overseas in Dubai and acting unruly and ghetto and getting in trouble for it, I didn't even second guess it. Nothing in me was like, oh, what's more to this? It can't just be that. And my mind was like, oh, she went over there, she acted a fool, and she forgot what she was. That's my first inclination, which is sad, because what it is the stereotypical image and the stereotypical archetype of a black woman that is spread across, media. Unfortunately, a lot of times some stories like this don't do much to tear down that stereotype.
Yeah.
Second, I do want to get back to the point where you said about how we don't know how good we have it in the U.S. with the rights that we have, with the liberties that we have, the ability to speak out against the leaders of our nation. You could almost dang near slander the president. I don't do it. I wouldn't recommend it, but people can get away with saying anything they want about the president. You try that in another country,
yeah, you might get your head chopped off.
You might be missing.
Yeah.
So, people like to complain about, especially that younger generation, even people in our generation and Gen Z or whatever, younger than us, like to complain about the U.S. being such a bad place and basically bitching when they don't realize how good we have it in the U.S.
Yeah.
Especially as black people, too. I'm going to keep it real. So, anyway, but that being said, the other side of the story that may be a thing that I wasn't aware of until today or until doing research for the story is that, unfortunately, Tierra, who is the passport sis, she might be a victim of extortion. Apparently, from what I read, an article by Insider, what happened to her has happened to other people in Dubai. There was a situation where there's a car accident. The car gets taken to the rental company with the person's belongings inside of it. Passport, ID, wallet, phone, etc. And the person goes to the rental company and they ask for their stuff back. And in order to get their stuff back, the rental company says, you have to pay us money. Thousands of dollars. So apparently what happened in this story is she approached them cordially, kindly, calmly, and said, hey, this is what happened. My friend, Nigerian guy, come on, bro, was driving the car, got in an accident, little fender bender, and, I need my stuff back. And they ran this scheme to her, and the man at the counter was apparently yelling at her first. And so eventually, I guess she got upset, started yelling back. They called the authorities, and the rest is what's going on now. So if that is the case, I don't think that she did anything wrong.
I don't think she did anything wrong if that is the case. If that's the case.
Because honestly, what are you supposed to do? If someone is trying to extort you for thousands of dollars,
you're going to be mad.
You're going to be upset.
Yeah, you're going to be upset about it.
And if they're yelling at you and extorting you, it takes someone with iron will not to yell back. So
I mean, who wouldn't be mad in a situation like that? Like, give me all your money. I'm going to be mad.
Exactly. So if that's the case, I get it. If not, and she's just popping off.
Yeah. She's popping off. I don't feel bad for her at all.
Yeah, she's popping off for no reason. Like,
yeah, obviously, if it's the first side that we spoke about, then yes, then I don't feel bad for her. But if it's the second side, then yeah, I definitely feel bad for her, and I hope everything works back. I hope she gets the the Brittany Griner treatment where she comes back.
As minuscule as her offense may seem, Triticale says there's nothing the U.S. government can do to get her off the hook.
You're subject to the law of that country, and the United States can't just come in and say, we're the United States, let our people go.
Many people see the high-profile efforts to secure the freedom of people detained overseas, like Brittany Griner, for example, and they think those same efforts will happen for every American.
Politics got them out. There are other Americans detained in Russia that were not detained for political reasons, and they're still detained in Russia.
Right. Well, never mind. She was in jail for a while, so never mind on that.
Yeah, hopefully she does not go to jail. Apparently, the maximum sentence for yelling in public is like 2 years in Dubai. Something great. Listen, don't play around in Dubai. But anything aside from her being extorted, she should not have popped off.
No, of
at
course
all.
not.
Because, again, that feeds into that stereotype that we don't need to feed into anymore. If it's just a matter of, I don't know, they're giving her a hard time and they're slowly processing her.
Yeah.
Stay calm.
Yeah.
There's no need to act ghetto.
Yeah.
That's what
I mean, hey, it is what it is. So ultimately, guys, that's been Bad Decisions. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, if you agree with us, leave a comment. If you think we're absolutely, then leave a comment. All right, guys, we are out.